In this video, we're going to continue on talking about storm and storm design. Now, just as a recap, to design the ponds, we typically use a method called the NRCS TR55 or TR20. We can also use programs such as the Interconnected Pond Routing Program, ICPR here in Florida, but a lot of the states use government programs such as HEC, HMS, which used to be HEC1 that the Army Corps of Engineers developed, which are all free programs. Now, the other cool thing is underneath the Analyze tab, you can actually see Edit and Storm and Sanitary Analysis. That is Autodesk's way to calculate, to provide you a method of calculating storm and sanitary. So it looks like this, and this layout actually shows is a lot like the HMS layout or the old HMS layout. So you have a design analysis options of input options or project options of using the SCS TR55, TR20, HEC1, which is now called, like I said, HEC HMS, or you can use the modified rationale. That designs your detention ponds because you need stage storage and routing calculations to use hydrographs. Whereas when you're using the rationale method, you're actually using you don't need the hydrographs. So in the TR55, you're looking at an equation that looks like Q equals the precipitation minus 0.2 times a factor affecting the curve number. Remember, curve number has to do with your soils group and your land use, whereas your TR55 or your rationale requires you to use a runoff, which is in CFS, based on a runoff coefficient, which is also a factor of land cover and hydrologic soil group, but it works off of an intensity factor. So these are the types of programs that you'll use to calculate the size of the pond and the size of your storm structures. So we're not going to do any calculations today, but I am going to show you what you need to know on or where you can find the information. So for the storm pipes, you would use a model called the storm sewers. So when it pops up, the hydroflow in storm sewers is going to look a lot like a computer program called StormCAD a lot of the engineering firms use. So I'm not going to do that today. I'll probably create another special little video on that. So I'm going to move forward on just what a subdivision set of plans requires. And subdivision plans, I mean, any plan when you're developing any type of land development requires an engineer to design the storm pipes because we don't want anything to flood. So TR55 or a program like it requires us to design the detention basin. The TR55 requires curve numbers, time concentration, and stage storage of the pond. Whereas the rationale method only requires us a time of concentration, a runoff coefficient, and an intensity factor based on the runoff coefficient and the drainage area. Now, in a separate video, I'll show you and talk about drainage area to the structures. For example, how much water is going into this structure here. And what we can do is we can create a polyline. Let's say we know that from this end of the street to this edge, and water is going to drain at least half of these lots is going to this storm structure from here to possibly here. And I'm just going to draw this out and change the structure so you can see it. I'm going to just arbitrarily make that. I'll make it red and I'll make the width 5 just so you can see it. So what's actually draining to these two inlets, to both of these inlets, is this area here. So the lots drain individually to the inlets, but for this one specific inlet, and I'll draw a polyline, and this is, I should be drawing it perfectly with the center line of the road, but I'm not for time's sake. And I'm going to match this property. Now, everything on this side of the center line of the road is going to drain to this low point right here, where everything on this side of the road is going to drain to this point here. And you would do that for the same for these two inlets and this inlet over here. This is a structure, a junction. It will not receive water, so it only conveys water that's already in the pipe system underground. Now, the reason that I've got these at angles is because, specifically this one, this is a high point, and then when water hits here, it's going to shoot off in opposite directions. So in the hydrology and hydraulics class, I go over this type of information more, but understanding that you have to figure out the drainage areas for each one of these inlets to size the pipe going downstream. It's not just an overall, like in the sizing of the pond, it's not an overall drainage area that's collecting to a pond. We have to look at these as individual drainage areas going to each inlet so we can size these pipes. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just delete that out. That's just a talking point. Now, in this part of the video, I want to show how to draw these pipes over into our profiles. So what I'm going to do is we'll select the pipes themselves, and what we're going to do is we're going to only look at this profile here. So the ones that I've selected, you can also possibly select similar, and it selects all the pipes. So you can draw, as soon as you do that, it comes up with this toolbar, this ribbon, contextual ribbon, and we're going to draw the pipes in the profile. Now it asks us what profile. I'm going to draw them in this profile here. And anything that shows up based on the selection set is going to be drawn over here. Now notice that I am way below so the structure, so I'm actually going to have to modify the profile grid to be able to see the structures themselves. So I'm going to click on the profile grid, and I'm going to right click, and click on this profile so everything's highlighted, and I'm going to go profile view properties. The properties allows me to change the elevations. So instead of 70, I'm going to do it at 65 because I know my lowest invert's is 69. Okay, so I've got these structures set. Now, on this pipe right here may or may not actually be what I need to be looking at. So what I'm going to do is, since I only have 3 of them, I'm going to go ahead and delete this back out because it's trying to put every pipe in there that it can physically see. So I'm just deleting all this out. Actually, it'd probably be easier if I just did undo, but I'm going to delete this out. All right, so I'm going to come back over here, and I'm going to click on these structures and pipes that only are connected to our road 1 alignment. Now, come back, and I'm going to go draw parts in profile. I'm going to pick this profile, and see it only puts this piece of information in because that's all it can see in this profile. The other data was actually part of the road 2's pipe network. So I'm going to click on the pipe, I'm going to right click, and I'm going to go, because this doesn't look right, I'm going to go structure properties. Sorry, I should have went edit structure styles, not structure properties. And I'm going to go to the profile, and I'm going to do it as a solid. Apply and OK. Now, the reason that it's actually sticking up above the ground is because it's using the surface elevation over here. So if I hover, if I go to my, if I just hover over the top of this point, it should give me an elevation for the surface of that road as 7532. Okay, so I'm going to come back over here, and I'm going to look at this, and I'm going to see what the elevation is on this. And the way that I'm going to do that is I am going to label these structures. So what you're going to do is you can click on this, and you can come up here And, oh snap, I'm going to go to annotate, sorry, label, and then I'm going to do pipe network, and I'm going to label, whoop, lost it, pipe network single parts in a profile, or I can do an entire network profile. I'm going to do single parts because this is the profile. The network is covering 2 roads. So I'm just going to do single parts in the profile. So I'm going to click on this one, and I'm going to click on this one. Now, if it was separate runs, I would separate it. So the top of structure we said was 7532. If I come over here and I hover back over that point, just as a reminder, the elevation was 7532. So this is the top of structure that's being shown. And it's showing that it's got 97.77 feet of 24-inch, and I can put RCP on there at 26.26%. So I can right-click this, and I can edit the label style. And it says length of material and slope. If I click on that little blue piece of box, then I can come over here and click, see how it has a pull down, it says pipe text. I can click this ellipses, and on the end of it where it says what the length is and it says material, I can put a space here and write RCP because we're only working with concrete pipe. Apply and OK. Now, when we do that, we've got the RCP in there. So when we go to do a sewer line, we'd have to create a whole new setup of the type of material for PVC. Okay. Now you can also adjust how this property looks by orientating where the label goes. So you can look at the label properties. We're just going to pull this out to the side. You could have this be perpendicular or vertical up and down. But we're going to leave it as is for right now. Now we're going to go and we're going to select these pipes. Let it think. We're going to select this structure. Now you have to make sure you select them or they won't show up. And the reason I'm doing this, typically I do it in the entire profile, but because this is multiple runs, or this is one single run covering 2 roads, I'm going to do it this way. So I'm going to draw the parts in profile, and I'm going to select this profile. Now again, I have to move this down, so I'm going to right click, select the profile, right click, edit view profile properties, and I'm going to change this to 65. Okay, now it shows up in here, and I'm going to change this structure, edit structure style, and I'm going to do it as a solid, apply and OK. Now, you can see that you have multiple structures coming in. This is a 48-inch pipe. The cool thing is if I changed my mind, if I modeled it and found out I didn't have to have a 48-inch pipe, if I click on it, right click, and I go swap part, and I change it to a 36-inch, it automatically changes it here, but it automatically changes that pipe size over here too. So I'm going to change this one, and I'm going to go structure style, solid, apply, and OK. Now, I didn't change, I forgot to change this structure, and I'm actually going to pull this out and place it at the edge of the road, like that. And it will automatically update to the proper location over here. But the other thing is I didn't look at the sump on this in my previous video, so I'm going to go structure properties, and I want no sump depth. I'm going to apply and OK. So that automatically fixes this one over here. However, the rim elevation isn't in the proper location, isn't in the right location. So I need to look at that structure again. Right click, structure properties. Now this is very important when you're doing subdivision design, is to make sure that the elevations are true. So it says that the elevation is 72 and my depth is a 70. Well, that's not the cover that I need. So I'm going to look at this pipe here, right click, and go, first I want to make sure that the road 1, it's not on road 1. Structure properties, and it is. So that's the wrong road, wrong surface. So I need to change the surface to road 2, apply, and okay. This is kind of how you ground truth to make sure that everything is in its, and there it goes. It puts it into its proper location and corrects it. So in this one, now I'm going to go ahead and label this. So I'm going to go add labels, pipe networks, and I'm going to go ahead and do the network entire in the profile. And I'm going to click that and it automatically labels it. So I'm going to pull this up. The other thing is it says concrete pipe. Now this one here is talking about the cross pipe over here. So it should have had this label here. And it's labeling it twice. Sometimes you don't need information, and you can also pull this information out. Now, the reason that it has a station question mark is because I need to take a look to make sure this is on structure 2, or road 2. So I go structure properties. See how it has road 1 as a reference, but I've got the surfaces road 2? I made a mistake earlier. So we can fix that. That's the nice thing about this program, is it allows you to fix it as you go along. And now it should say the right information. So it tells you what the top of structure is. The inverts all coming in. There's a 24-inch coming in and 2 18 inches coming in and a 36-inch going out. That's what all of that means. So I don't need that one. And I'm going to pull this over here. Like that. Okay. Now, pull this one out. Both of these are pointing at the same one because these are across from one another. Okay. And this one only has, it should have had 2, but I didn't collect it. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to delete this and I'm going to do the entire network because it should have put the structure 1 also in there. So I'm going to click on it. Click on this one, and this one, and this one. Draw parts in profile. Click this one. Now I'm going to relabel them. So I'm going to add labels, and I'm going to pipe network. Oops. Pipe network, entire profile, and I'll click that. There it goes. The reason that it didn't add that second label is because I could not touch the second structure because it is literally behind the first structure. And there we go. Now, the next part, notice that it doesn't go any further because it can't see past that. This 97 feet. It only shows up, and once it gets to the end point here, I can't see the rest of it. Now I'm going to label it over here in the plan view. So I'm going to go to add labels, and I'm going to go pipe network, the entire network in the plan view. And I should only have to click 1 because the entire network is storm run 1. I'm going to get rid of this information. This is miscellaneous information from previous. And now I'm just kind of cleaning it up as I go along. I don't need that. I don't need that. And I don't need that. Because it's going to start cluttering up my drawing if I don't. So I'm going to click on that. And I'm going to pull this over. Click on that one. Pull this over. Now, notice this one says 5.26 to the right, and this one's 5.5. This one this storm structure needs to be shifted. So what I usually do is I draw a circle at the intersection of the pipe, and I take this, or at the end of the parcel line, and I take this and I go intersection to here. Now when I do that, it should say 5.5, and all this data over here gets updated also. All right, so that looks good, and I can pull this out in addition to that to make it start cleaning up these lines. Now, when you start pulling on the labels to get them to look good, and you're making them look good through the model space, when you go to the Paving, Grading, and Drainage tab, take a look at it there. You'll actually want to make sure that everything looks good through this tab too, and the text height looks good. I also don't need this tab here. So I double click to activate the viewport, click on that, and I don't need that. Now, I've got the viewports locked right now, so you should be set when you start manipulating the drawing. Now, as for text height, the text height right now for this label, if I right click and I edit label style, and it says data connected with pipes, I click on that blue box. When the dragged state, when we look at the drag state, it's 0.05, but I'm going to change to 0.075 and make it a little bit bigger. Same with the layout. The text height is 0.075. Okay, so you'll also have incoming pipes 0.075 and outgoing pipes, the text height's 0.075. The drag state automatically allows me to have everything at 0.075, apply and okay, and it looks a little bit better. Okay. Also notice now that I'm looking through the viewports and I'm cleaning things up, this is really tiny text. In addition, in the Paving, Grading, and Drainage plan, we wouldn't have these labeled. So you could actually go to your Home tab and you could freeze off these labels because we don't need them in the Paving, Grading, and Drainage. What we do need in the Paving, Grading, and Drainage sheet, I'm going to hit escape to get out of there, is our labels or our spot grades pulled out and made to look good. Now, this text here on this label and these labels are too small. I like this size better. So we may look at it and it may get too large. So I'm going to edit the label. Wrong one. Right click on it and you will do it over here. I'm sorry. Elevation only. You're going to create an edit. You're going to edit the elevation only. Click the blue box. And you're going to have a height of 0.06. So I'm going to change that to 0.06, not 0.075. A little bit bigger than the 0.05. And okay. I think I'll do 0.07. Sometimes you don't know off the top of your head what it's going to look perfectly like. Every project's going to be different, but the biggest thing is making sure it is legible. There we go. So on all of these, and if I go right click and select similar, and I'll do elevation only. It should automatically update to the proper size. Now, the reason that it's not is because these are not pulled out. So in the dragged state, so I need to just edit, create, click the blue box. In the layout state, I need 0.07 also. Apply. The other thing that you can do is you can have visibility. You can have a background mask and go true. And in the drag state, you can also have a background mask and say true. Apply and OK and OK. So everything looks a little bit better. Okay, so on these, you might pull these out, because if I can't read it, then a contractor can't read it either. Zoom in. Now, on the text height here, I'm going to change that. I'm going to change this to 0.07. So I am going to change the label style again. Like I said, it's not always your first go around. And in the layout, I'm going to do 0.07 also. Apply and OK. Now, the big thing is when you're submitting to the county and agencies, yeah, you might think, oh, I'm not, this isn't what I need to learn design-wise. But here's the thing is you have to understand what the agencies reviewing it are also going to be looking at. If they can't read what the information you're trying to convey, they will give you comments and make it look better. So you might as well make it look nice to begin with, because in my opinion, the less comments you have from the contractors, the better it'll be. Now I'm going to change this lot, and I'm going to change it to this style here. So it's going to have, I'm going to take off the acreage on each one of these. I'm only going to have the lot number. So to do that, you click on it, and you can adjust the style through here. But I'm going to stop right now, and I'm just going to clean up the storm, and then I'll do that in a separate video. So right now we have, in our plan view, we have our profile set for our storm, and we'll look at that in the profile view. In the plan view, let's take a look at the plan view, fix this up, and then I'll start another video for the profile view of how that looks like. So the rest of this project is going to be some design for utilities, and I'll go over that for water mains and sewer mains. We may not have time for doing that all at once, so we'll break it down into little pits. Now, the other thing we have to talk about is going to have to be about the grading of this, because in this plan we've got our storm set in our profiles, and we'll look at that, and we need to finish up our grading. So I'm going to put a pause on this video, and then we'll start a new video going over the profile, making that look nice. Okay?